All right, everybody. Welcome to the Smithy. My name's Kyle. I'm the studio manager over here. Today I'm going to teach you guys how to make a quick coil pot. We just want to talk about clay just for a second. There's three basic ways to manipulate clay. You can take clay and roll it into a coil. You can flatten your clay to make it into a slab. And then you can pinch your clay and sculpt it into something maybe like a duck or something. Quack. So those are the three basic ways that we make things out of clay. But today we're only going to be focusing on coils. All right. So at the gallery, you'll notice that we have some coils already pre-made for you. But there are some important rules that you need to follow. And to help you remember, we're going to go with the three S's: slip, score, and smooth. All right. So before you can attach any two pieces of clay together, you need to rough up the surface, and that's called scoring the surface. If we put two smooth pieces of clay together like this, when it dries, they're going to shrink like SpongeBob out of the water, and they're just going to separate from each other and they'll fall apart. So a little trick is to take some pointy objects. Over at the studio, we'll have these little sticks here, and you just want to score the surface. You want to scratch into it, and make sure you scratch into it well. You don't want to look like you don't eat vegetables. You want to be doing this. Oh dear. We want to really get in there and move that clay and really dig it up. All right. You also don't want to go too deep, because if you go too deep, you can actually crack the clay when it dries. So we're just going to scratch up the edge, and we want to score two pieces together. So if I'm attaching two pieces, I can't just scratch the surface. I also need to scratch the object that I'm going to be attaching to the base. I'm going to speed up the process and use my little scoring comb here. All right. So when I used to teach elementary, I used to say scratch, scratch, wet attach. All right. So that means that we scratch, scratch, and then by wetting, what I'm talking about is using some clay slip. Now, clay slip is basically just really wet clay. So if I take the clay here, put it on my brush, just go around the outside, kind of blob it on. You don't want to use too much, because if you soften the clay too much, it won't be able to hold much weight. All right, just like that. And scratch, scratch, wet, attach. Notice that I only used the wet one time. It was scratch, scratch, because we need to scratch both surfaces. The wetting part, or putting the slip on, we don't need to do both surfaces. We just need to do the one. So I'm going to lay my coil in, and it's a little bit short, and I did that on purpose so that when I push this down, just like this, and you need to make sure that you push down, it should stretch the clay out a little bit, and hopefully I'll have enough to bridge that little gap, and I did. All right, there we go. So that's our first coil on this one. All right. Now, remember back at the beginning, I said the three S's: score, slip, and then smooth. You see all this gunk in here? We just want to run our finger across that and just smooth it out a little bit. And if there's any gunk sticking out from the outside, we can smooth that out as well. All right. And that is the very basics of creating a coil pot. Now, if we were to go further here, we need to scratch the next coil and scratch the object that we're applying. So we're going to scratch the coil that's going on top of that. I'm sorry, scoring the coil that goes on top. All right. You want to scratch it up in probably two directions. Maybe make X's. just helps if you go in two directions, makes it a little stronger. Then we're going to take our slip, we'll add some of this slip just around the outside. Again, we don't need that much. How do you know how much you need? Well, when you put the coil on, remember when you're putting the coil on, you want to make sure that your scratched piece is against the other scratched piece. So the coil's got to rotate a little bit as you're putting it on. Uh-oh, my coil's too long. What do I do here? Well, I can just take any type of sharp tool, and I'm going to go in at an angle, at a diagonal, 45, and I'm going to slice through the top one and the bottom one. And I'm going to pull that back out, remove the one underneath, and shazam, our coil fits perfect. All right, so how do you test if this worked well? Well, you pick up on it. If you can pick up the weight of the pot by your last installed coil, then you did a good job attaching it. All right, but this is just the very basic. What if you wanted to make your coil different shapes, your coil pot different shapes? Well, I made a little demonstration here. If we want our walls to go straight up and down, well, then you need to place your next coil right in the top center of the last coil. If you want your coil to go outwards like a volcano, like a tornado, then you want to place your coil toward the outside of the last coil. And if you want to go inward, then you place your next coil on the inside of the last coil. Right? So I would place that one here. All right. And don't forget, you can get super creative. Your coils don't have to just go around in a circle. You can make all different types of coils and put them on there. I have an entire project just for different types of coils. And that's coil making in a nutshell. I hope you guys have fun and hope to see you guys again. Bye.